This is my Strength Finder video. In case you hadn't noticed. Cool, moving on. For this project, I interviewed my friend and coworker Travis, my best friend and roommate Mary, and my dad. So, also, this is a corgi button. Mary named him George, so obviously I'm not the weirdest one in the room. Cool. Anyways, first strength is intellection. People who are especially talented in the intellection theme are characterized by their intellectual activity. They are introspective and appreciate intellectual discussions. There's finally a word for it. So this got brought up really heavily with Travis. So when I first started working at the Cultural Center, Travis and I really bonded over the fact that neither of us can handle small talk. When I first came in, he introduced himself and he said, "Oh, okay, so why did you want to work here? What made you take the job?" And instead of saying, "Oh, I really like art, and I'm a college student, so I need the money," and no, instead, I rambled about this research binge I did on Claude Monet, and I just all over him about impressionistic art and why Claude Monet was considered such a great artist and why he still is and why we keep his paintings and where they're kept and the beauty of them and color theory, and I just went off. And the best part about that was he came right back at me with framing techniques and more on color theory that I didn't know, and just all this information, and it was great. It was probably one of the best introductory conversations I've ever had with a person. So that was really cool, and I liked it, and I really love that intellection is one of the things that I've claimed for myself, because I do see it, and it's been in my life for a long time, and I don't see it going away. Also, if you'll take note, that bookcase over there, it's like a fifth of my books. I wasn't allowed to bring them all to school. So, also, I'm sitting at my desk and there's this little, thing, and on top of it is more books, all of them being 50 or more years old. The oldest book I own is 112 years, and it makes me really happy. Anyways, moving on. My second strength is empathy. People who are especially talented in the empathy theme can sense the feelings of others by imagining themselves in others' lives or situations. Does this mean I cry at every sad movie? Yes. Is that all that means? No. But I'm serious, I cry at the slightest thing sometimes. The really sad dog commercials. That's so sad. I can't handle it. I always flip the channel because I cry. Anyways, moving on. So I saw empathy, especially when talking to my dad. So in high school especially, my dad and I used to get into all kinds of arguments. It was about who I'm hanging out with and where I'm going and not staying on top of this, or why didn't you tell me you were gonna go to this friend's house, and just a bunch of things. Prepare yourself, Matt. Those years are coming. I shouldn't be giving parenting advice, but I'm dead serious. On this side of the fence, prepare yourself. Moving on. So I just remember doing this thing where I would take a deep breath, take a step back, mentally, not physically, it's not every time. Anyways, taking a deep breath and reminding myself he's a single father to an only daughter. He's a truck driver who doesn't always have the chance to be present, and to get to have those experiences of getting to be protective and involved. So sometimes he is overprotective and overbearing. But you have to understand that a part of it is him feeling like he has to compensate for the fact that he's not around all the time. And I just remember really vividly taking that into account, and then our arguments became less and less. We still argued, but it became easier for us to talk it out because I was less defensive of what was happening, and he felt like he was understood, and so it turned into more of a discussion than it did an argument. So empathy has played a big role in my life because I try to take on that mindset every time I talk to a person. It doesn't always work, but I try, especially in arguments. I try telling myself to think, where are they coming from? What are they taking into account that you might not be seeing? So empathy's played a big role in my life. Okay, third one is input. People who are especially talented in the input theme have a craving to know more. Often they like to collect and archive all kinds of information. So I agree, but I don't. If that's fair. So I do have a craving to know. Oh my goodness, I crave. So earlier I mentioned the Monet binge research. Okay, so that's a part of a thing I like to call my Wikipedia spirals. And that is essentially anytime I can't sleep or I'm procrastinating, I like to essentially go to Google and I just look up anything that catches my fancy. I can tell you a lot about Polish folklore, different types of venomous jellyfish, the ecosystem of Lake Tahoe, the cultural meanings behind certain flowers, the origins of Vegas. Just a lot. I know a lot of really kind of useless information for every day, like living, but I love knowing, and I love that kind of hunt for information and getting to know new things, and then fact checking and making sure it's right, and then getting to find those little conversations and those little niche conversations that allow me to like explode. So I definitely saw that part of input, but I don't really see the archiving and collecting. So when I get this new information, sure, it kind of like shuffles into my brain and then it's like put into categories and stuff. But I'm not one to like keep it like archiving. Maybe I'm just thinking about it in too limited of a capacity. But I don't know. I never take the time, unless it's for like a research paper or something, to really put that information somewhere. It's just kind of all up here. So I'm not sure if I entirely agree with input. I might be more of a learner. I think I could agree more with that. But for now, I guess input works well enough. My fourth strength is ideation. People who are especially talented in the ideation theme are fascinated by ideas. They are able to find connections between seemingly disparate phenomena. Oh man. Okay, funny story. All while I was growing up, a lot of people thought I was ADHD, um, and that's just because in conversation, in the time span between me talking, them responding, and then me getting to talk again, I would jump from point A to point N, and no one could figure out how I got there. Half the time, I don't even know how I got there, which was insane. um, Actually, when I told my dad this one, he said, "That's what it is," and I was like, "What do you mean?" And so he told me about how we would have conversations because we really do like talking on the phone together and going over our days and thinking about the new things that we've seen or learned. And half the time, I'll say something and we'll be on some kind of topic. Like, for example, one time my dad was talking about, what was it? Oh no. Um, oh, it was a new kind of process of loading his truck once he got to a warehouse. And so he was talking about it and how like the youngins didn't quite get it yet, but they were getting better. And he was explaining it to me, but it set something off in my head, and my brain blasted from that to about 16 different things to land on the manufacturing of crayons. I'm not even joking. Like, I wish I was, because that's so random and hard to believe, but that's how it happened. I like to say that I don't have a train of thought. I have a pogo stick, a kayak, a hot air balloon, a jet ski, and a go kart. And that's how my brain travels. So, ideation is definitely a thing. Um, I'm dying. Okay, so you would think that with me being obviously sick, that this would be tea. LOL, it's black coffee. Because why try helping yourself get better when you can just power through? Anyways, so yeah, ideation was was a pretty obvious one. Anyways, okay. So my fifth strength is adaptability. Oh jeez. Anyways, um, so people who are especially talented in the adaptability theme prefer to go with the flow. They tend to be now people who take things as they come and discover the future one day at a time. Um, so when I first saw this one, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed. Yeah, so I'm a very anxious person. I overthink even the littlest of details. Um, a lot of the times I have a hard time believing in my own abilities, and I don't see myself as the person who's like the go-to person for solutions, because half the time my brain is still drowning in all of the problems. And half of them aren't even real problems, they're just my brain being my brain. Wow, I really know how to sell myself. Yeah, so when I saw adaptability, I thought that was ridiculous. I thought it was a mistake. Um, but I was talking to Mary, and she was like, Haley, what do you mean? You're one of the most adaptable people I know. You're like MacGyver. I was like, what do you mean? I know who MacGyver is. I promise. Loved it. The new TV show's kind of whack, but I do love MacGyver. But I was like, that I don't see that. I don't see how I'm that person. And she said, well, when we were having problems, where was it? She had come to visit me at work, was the example that she gave me. She had come to visit. And for my job with Travis is we set up tables and chairs for events around our building, and then we sit and we babysit the event to make sure nothing goes wrong. And when it does go wrong and someone inevitably yells at us, we have to go fix it, even if it's not ours to fix. It's great. Um, but she told me about how she had come to visit, and we had been chatting at the desk when the mother of the bride came up to me and started yelling about technical issues, and there was a problem with the lighting and da 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 da. And I looked at her and I was like, oh, okay, let's go figure this out. And so Mary follows me, and she told me about how while Travis and she were still thinking, oh man, that's so many problems, and what are we going to do first, and how are we going to get this done, I was already steamrolling into, okay, here's what we got to do. Here, Travis, go to the lighting switch and make sure all the presets are set right, and then go switch it to the right one, because we did set it up this morning. I know we did. Well, I went to the tech closet and I made sure everything was hooked up and connected, and then I reconnected the Wi-Fi because for some reason it disconnected, and then I was making sure that the caterers had the proper things that they needed because for some reason they'd misplaced a box of plates that apparently had been put into one of our janitorial closets for whatever reason, and it just went and did. And oh, and there weren't enough chairs. That's what it was another problem. So it's a notorious problem when we have big events like weddings and quinceañeras and that kind of thing in our ballroom that will run out of chairs. So there's chairs all over the building because yeah, we have classrooms and the music studios and the ballroom and blah, blah, blah. And so, but we also had two other events going on, and so I was like, okay, Travis, why don't you go get a half rack of 15 chairs from room 201, and then I'll go grab an extra 5 out of 103, and then maybe we can steal a couple from the studio, and then we'll have enough. And Mary was telling me about all of this, and she was like, Haley, you moved right on. While we were still stuck in that mindset of, wow, that's a lot of things to go wrong, you were already thinking of solutions and how you could fix things and get things done. So I didn't see it at first. I still don't think I entirely see it. I think it's something that I would want to cultivate more, that I want to work on. But I will admit that it's there now. So that's really cool. So yeah, those are my strengths. I really like them, actually. I know there were a few people who didn't really like what they got, but I really like what I got. Especially because 3 of them are strategic and 2 of them are relational, which is fantastic. Because I'm a communications major and I want to work in human resources and communication research to work to see how to get people to work together, to optimize how they work and what they do, and making sure everyone gets along and that they're respected and treated well so they can work to the best of their ability. So I really think my strengths have aided me in that pursuit. So yeah, thank you for having us do this project. I actually really enjoy it as much as I would have preferred an essay because God, I sound so much more intelligent on paper than I do when I open my mouth to speak. Again, with the upselling, A+. Anyways, so thanks for this project, and I'll see you in class if this cold doesn't kill me. Bye, Matt.